Michelangelo, a full biography. Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti Simoni was born on March 6, 1475, in Caprese, a small town in the Republic of Florence, modern-day Italy. His family belonged to minor nobility, but had lost much of its wealth over generations. Shortly after his birth, the family moved to Settignano, where Michelangelo was raised. His mother died when he was just 6 years old, and he was placed under the care of a stonecutter's family, an experience that may have influenced his later passion for sculpting. Despite his father's initial reluctance, Michelangelo pursued an artistic career. At the age of 13, he was apprenticed to the renowned painter Domenico Ghirlandaio in Florence. Here, he learned the basics of fresco painting and drawing. However, Michelangelo's true passion lay in sculpture, and he soon left Ghirlandaio's workshop to study at the Medici Gardens, where he was mentored by Bertoldo di Giovanni, a sculptor and former pupil of Donatello. Under the patronage of Lorenzo de' Medici, Michelangelo gained exposure to the intellectual and artistic circles of Florence. He studied classical sculpture and developed his skills, producing works such as the Madonna of the Stairs and the Battle of the Centaurs. After Lorenzo's death in 1492, Michelangelo briefly returned to his family before moving to Bologna and later Rome. During his first stay in Rome, 1496 to 1501, he sculpted the Bacchus, a life-size statue of the Roman god of wine, and the Pieta, 1498 to 1499, a masterpiece depicting the Virgin Mary cradling the body of Jesus after the crucifixion. The Pieta, commissioned for St. Peter's Basilica, remains one of his most celebrated works due to its delicate realism and emotional intensity. Returning to Florence in 1501, Michelangelo was commissioned to create David, a colossal marble statue symbolizing the strength and resilience of the Florentine Republic. Completed in 1504, the statue quickly became an icon of Renaissance art and is now housed in the Galleria dell'Accademia in Florence. In 1505, Pope Julius II invited Michelangelo to Rome to design the Pope's tomb, a project that would take decades to complete and be plagued by interruptions. Frustrated by delays, Michelangelo was redirected in 1508 to paint the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican, a task he initially resisted, believing himself to be a sculptor rather than a painter. Over 4 years, 1508 to 1512, Michelangelo created one of the greatest masterpieces of Western art. The ceiling frescoes depict scenes from the Book of Genesis, including the creation of Adam, which remains one of the most iconic images in history. The project was physically and mentally exhausting, requiring Michelangelo to work on scaffolding for extended periods. After Julius II's death, Michelangelo continued working under successive popes, including Leo X and Clement VII. In 1520, he was commissioned to design the Medici Chapel in the Basilica of San Lorenzo, Florence, where he created impressive tomb sculptures, including Night and Day and Dawn and Dusk. In 1534, Michelangelo returned to Rome, where he was commissioned by Pope Clement VII, and later Paul III, to paint the Last Judgment on the altar wall of the Sistine Chapel. This enormous fresco, completed in 1541, depicted the second coming of Christ and the final judgment of souls. The dramatic composition, intense movement, and muscular figures stirred both admiration and controversy, particularly because of the inclusion of nude figures in a religious setting. During his later years, Michelangelo also became increasingly involved in architecture. In 1546, he was appointed chief architect of St. Peter's Basilica, where he redesigned much of the structure and laid the foundation for its iconic dome, later completed by Giacomo della Porta. His architectural contributions extended to other projects, such as the Laurentian Library in Florence and the redesign of the Capitoline Hill in Rome. Despite his artistic success, Michelangelo led a solitary and deeply spiritual life. He never married and was known for his intense dedication to his work. He wrote poetry and letters that reflected his philosophical and religious beliefs, as well as his struggles with aging and artistic ambition. Michelangelo died on February 18, 1564, at the age of 88 in Rome. His body was taken to Florence, where he was buried in the Basilica of Santa Croce, in accordance with his wishes. Michelangelo's legacy is unparalleled. His contributions to sculpture, painting, and architecture set new standards for artistic excellence, influencing generations of artists from the Renaissance to the present day. His mastery of anatomy, movement, and emotion transformed the visual arts, making him one of the most celebrated figures in Western history. Even today, Michelangelo is remembered as a true Renaissance genius, whose works continue to inspire and captivate audiences around the world.